We made it. Finally. Finally, we made it. Finally. This shows how dependent we are on technology. This shows how fragile we are as humanity. But we managed. We are
Fragile
once
but
again.
agile. Statement of the year.
Oh well, yeah, man. Thank you, thank you for the laughter. I needed it. It was too much stress, too much
Mm,
pressure. But indeed, thank you very much for those who join in. It's indeed another session, another show, Restoration Talks. Today's topic is modern day churches. Last week was really insightful. I suggest and advise you to listen to last week's message. At the moment, please like and share. We give you 10 seconds, 10 seconds to share, 10 seconds to like. If you don't do that, Stephanie will come after you, and she will, and if you do it, she will pray for you also. So you're
Kaya
shaking your
woman.
head.
I didn't say anything. No
You
comment.
Yeah,
did like this. It's recorded, huh?
it's recorded in the EV mix and in the heavens.
And in the heavens. So without further ado, we I think we have to give a good context about last week's message, and the best way to do that is Randy, pull it up.
Eesh. Let's go.
Let's go.
Um,
Pull it up.
wow. Can you see it? Or do I need to add it to the? Yeah. Let me make it full screen. Full screen.
Yes. Before you play on press. No, I don't. Yeah. Before you press on play. So this is indeed last week's message, and we were thinking, why can we not hear from the oracles of the heavens itself to give the summary of the message? It was really concise. It was really precise, and that's why it's also to have that interaction. So people in the comment section, please listen. Please follow, comment, share it with your neighbor. Even the one who's listening, even Jeff, bro, Mr. Jeff is listening. He's mentioned
How?
it. So
Where?
to the show, he's listening today. So shout out to him.
Uh,
Shout out to him, and then he will. Some people they don't like when they hear their own voice, but I know he's used to it. So please play.
At the Hebrews, who were later joined by the Gentiles.
do you hear it?
We
Oh yeah.
established what they believed and how it was rooted in the word of Yah,
Do you hear me?
Torah to be precise. We looked at the doctrine.
Hmm?
Yeah, you have to go. Okay, please go back. It was not from the beginning.
Okay. Let me see. What is happening? Just a second. I think it's refreshing or something.
Mm, the laptop is too heavy.
I am having.
Remove it from the full screen.
Oh wait. Stop
The
sharing.
the hard disk is too heavy for you, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh yeah. Now it's going. Wait.
Okay,
And the hard disk was in too much, too heavy.
it's too heavy.
Let me share it again. You have to. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Okay. I think you see it now. Huh?
Yeah,
Okay. Let's try
niet zo
again.
luid, iets zachter. Play.
Okay.
1,000 people are listening to me live. I give unto Caesar what belongs unto Caesar. So, people, we try to look at the concept of the modern church and how it started, or not how it started, but how the concept does not relate to what we know as the assembly in Acts. And then we also looked at the Hebrews, who were later joined by the Gentiles. We established what they believed and how it was rooted in the word of Yah, Torah to be precise. We looked at the doctrine, what they preached, and the heart with which they preached. We also looked at the centrality and the importance of unity and community life, and how we can see that in practical areas in our life today. And we recognize the view of money, also we didn't really touch, but you can read it. And lastly, we acknowledge the reality of persecution in this journey. and to some it will even lead to martyrdom. But that is in the hand of Yah. So
Yes, you can go back a bit. So indeed, it
Do
was
I
a
remove
really,
it?
yeah, it's good. You can remove it. It is indeed an interesting teaching because he spoke about the people who were living in the days of Acts. The book, well, the book was written, let's say, and they call it the early church. The people, yeah, they are the basis of today's community. We built off from the root of the churches of Acts. But the main thing is the thing that we see today is a little bit, if not too much different from what we see back in the day. So he was summarizing really precisely from, hey, what we see today is not what we see or what we saw in the days of old. So we will just have a good conversation about it. Maybe people can also share what did you took from the message and what were you contemplating about when you hear that message of last week.
Mm,
You
I-
mean like what was said in general or a specific
in
piece?
general, in
Um,
general.
yeah, in general, what for me came forward was the early assembly of the saints. When you read about it in the scriptures, it's a whole big difference than what we see today. So that's something that came forward in the beginning immediately, because now in the church many of the things that they do are based upon signs and wonders and things that are appealing to the eye. And when you what came forward in the message were especially things that, for example, one of the statement that the minister made was things that pricked them in their hearts and that caused them to change. And being pricked
Mhm,
in your heart means that you heard something and you thought about it, you were contemplating about it, and that's why it pricked you in your heart.
mhm,
yeah.
And that's what moved them into doing the things that they were doing, changing and living a certain life. So nowadays you don't see that very often. The church is now really focused on signs and wonders and prophesy and those kinds of things. So that's the main thing that I got out of it, and how it was building up, and everything that came afterwards was based upon that foundation.
yeah. Like Randy also said, for me, the whole message was basically illustrating the life, like how we should live here on earth, and that it is all about being set apart and also accepting if you are different, because we are all called to be different. We cannot mimic what the crowd is doing. So it is all about living set apart, following the Messiah, following the apostles also. They also followed the same style. They didn't do something new. They didn't invent something new. So that was actually what, yeah, stick with me.
You know, it's really funny because what you mentioned also as last is that the apostles didn't, their ways weren't different from what the Messiah did, even after the death of the Messiah, right? When they would say, hey, all laws has been. We'll talk about it. We'll talk
Too
about
much. You're spending too
it.
much.
I'm spilling too much tea. But indeed, yeah, it's really interesting. And that brings us to the next se- uh, to, to the next segment because I'm just curious. We just have to test some waters. Maybe we got some nuggets from the teachings, and it's always good to narrow it down and make it chewable because
Hmm.
the message was too heavy. Was too heavy. So we'll just go to
It
a
wasn't.
segment.
It wasn't.
Nah,
It is no,
for
because
some, okay, it might be a shock.
It's for you. It's not heavy. For people that may
no,
hear it for the first time, it's
I
like,
was,
oh,
I was just explaining. I think what
Yeah,
made it very clear and also practical is that most of the time this minister, he he brings a lot of examples. He showcases real life scenarios, and
examples.
also at the end, mostly he also sums up few questions that we can take away or
Sure.
take into our personal life, our quiet time, our Sabbath, so that it can sink, really sink.
Mhm.
That's my
So
opinion.
so so then the next question is this: did this also sink? So we'll just have a small "did you know" questions.
Okay.
Did you know that the follower of the Messiah were also called a sect?
Well, it depends when. When did I know this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, did you know?
Well, years ago, I didn't know. But when it was pinpointed clearly in the message with the
Mhm.
examples, it occurred to me that yes, they were called a sect.
Yeah.
They also received a name. So
Mhm.
first I didn't know. So I got informed a few years ago. 2 years, 3 years, I think.
I also didn't know because if someone calls you you're in a sect now, it's something it has a negative load on it.
Load.
So
True.
to be able to read this and your Messiah or the one that you believe in, then you will also be labeled as a sect. It comes in
Yeah.
differently. But
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
didn't know it.
Okay. Yeah. No, it is listen to the message. Last week he really expanded why and how. But it was mentioned
But did you
in the
know
book
it?
of Acts. In the book of Acts. No, I didn't know. Yeah. The question is man when, but no, I didn't know at the front until it was mentioned some time ago. I was like, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow.
Oh wow.
Same thing with this. Did you know that they didn't call themselves Christians?
Yeah, that is something that I already know. Yeah,
Yeah.
let me keep it short. Yeah.
Knew it already, yeah. Some for some people, because the thing is, we our the doctrine, the religion, the dogma, everything is around the word Christians, Christianity, and if you even read the letters of Paul himself, he mostly said the way, right? And it is yeah funny, but yeah, but it were the people of Antioch that were calling the followers of the Messiah Christians. And one thing what the minister also last week said is that what was really profound was that of course they couldn't call themselves Christians because the Messiah's name was not even Christ. It is something else if you would say his name is John. Let's say his name is
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Cristiano Ronaldo. So everybody's now Christo. Now we are Christians because we say he's a Cristiano Ronaldo. No, it is his name was Yahushua, and then he is called even Hamash. It's a title, right?
Yeah.
Um,
But there's something funny because I was back in the days. I was always of yeah back in the days. I was using this to in an argument with people, and a certain brother when I used this argument, he came like, yeah, they didn't call themselves that, but when they were called that, they didn't mind. That was his standpoint. Like, oh, they didn't mind, so we can accept it.
wow,
So
wow,
I really found that also strange. Yeah. So like that was your defense. They didn't mind, so that's why we can call ourselves Christians.
wow. Next point.
Ah, Steph, you skip Steph.
Well, no.
Uploading.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's lots. There are
Okay,
loads of things you can comment.
bring it.
I think this is something basically the core of the message also, and maybe for some people it might be oh whoa. That's why it's also good to stand still with this notion or this question. Did you know that many early believers were still practicing Hebrew customs
Yeah.
even after the Messiah's ascension, after the death of the Messiah, after the teaching of the Messiah, basic after the birth even of the Messiah? Peop Many early believers, people of the Acts, the apostles, they believe they were still practicing Hebrew customs. And if
Yeah.
so, why and what?
Mm-hmm.
I heard Stephanie
Well,
Minute say, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I already knew that they still practice the Hebrew customs, and also based upon the commandments and the covenants that was already established in the beginning. Some of the feast days, keeping the Sabbath, for instance, which is actually the main thing. It didn't change when the Messiah went up. Um, so that makes it for me clear that it still was the same and nothing changed.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
one thing what was mind blowing for me was also the part when they talk about clean and unclean food. That even people would say, yeah, Paul he received a dream about he was eating the all manners of food, but in a particular verse, I wouldn't say which verse, needed the chapter for you people to read it yourself. And Prima is that it says that, but Abba. Wait, for people who don't know the context, because it's good for people to know the context. So basically, there was someone from an Italian band who was a Gentile, and the Elohim sent him to Apostle Paul, and then Paul received an. Meanwhile, Paul also received a dream whereby all manners of fruit were presented unto him, clean and unclean, and then the Elohim told him, "Eat of the unclean and clean banquet, eat the pork, eat the fish and whatsoever." And he said in his statement that, Elohim, how can I cannot eat this because I've never eaten unclean food in my life. I've never ever eaten unclean food. And that was years after the death of the Messiah. And when he received that dream. So they were still practicing the Hebrew practice, but I always thought, fine, yeah, in the dream he was eating it. And so basically it was even a dream. And in the dream he never ate. And the explanation is even explained further, what it was and why he received that dream. So it's also really good for us to read in context, to read further, to read the whole story. And that is something we really have to give back also to our people. Also want to encourage all of us, hey, we have to read the Bible from beginning to end. We have to read even the whole book, read it from the beginning until the end, because that
Hmm.
book, it gives you so much context. Read it for yourself,
Yeah.
unbiased. Don't take our words for truth. Just read it yourself, right? And then you will see from, oh, whoa, this is how we ought to live. Oh, they were living a different kind of custom, which is way different than what I see today. And also one thing then to add, because Steph also mentioned about the Sabbath, it was mentioned 84 times. That one I didn't know. For me, I was blown away. Exactly. Like that one, I didn't know even up until today.
About the amount that it was mentioned, or the
Yeah.
previous part that they also did
No,
that even.
the amount of
Ah.
it was mentioned in the book of,
Whoa.
only in the book of Acts. That is
Mm.
after the death from the Messiah, after the Holy Ghost
Holy
came.
Ghost. No,
uh,
but
yes,
to
continue.
add on that Sabbath part, they also, you saw them also do that even after the death of the Messiah, and it always came back in my mind about this verse that when the Messiah died on the stake, and then they went to bury him, and you see in Luke there's a verse where it says, and they rested, they went to rest because it was the Sabbath. And that
Mhm.
first always struck by me because after the Messiah died, then people always say, yeah, then the law was abolished. And I always thought in my mind, like, okay, the Messiah died. Why then did the people still went and rest according to the commandment? So that was always like fun. Okay, that there's something tricky going on, and you saw that in the scriptures that the word says, follow after me. They'll follow after, you have to follow the Messiah, you have to live
Yeah,
as he lived, and then yeah, the Sabbath thing, he died, then you would be set free, right? So that was
yeah,
always something that struck by me.
yeah, man. Yeah, wow. Hey, yeah, man. I will add that to my
To,
database.
to your
I'll
arsenal.
add it to my database. Reasons why even at the death of the Messiah they were obeying the
Yeah,
commandments.
then he died, and they still went and rested
Yeah,
according to the command. That is
commandments.
what it says literally
Yeah,
in the
man.
verse. They rested according to the
Yeah,
commandment.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, nice. No, there are many more. In Dutch, they would say, er zijn zoveel weetjes.
Hmm.
Many more understanding nuggets that we can take from the message. So please listen to the show of last week. There are so many. I think she explained it really well, Stephanie, that the way the minister will explain it, it is relatable. it is practical. You can see it around you, um, and those messages are messages that can rather prick you, even like and and the examples are funny. That for sure. The examples are for funny for sure.
And it it is forcing you. I'm trying to get my words. It is forcing you to pick up your Bible and read. You
Mhm,
cannot sit down there and hear new stuff, and you won't um, double check it.
mhm,
Is it true? My minister or my preacher man in the church is saying this. So where does
uh,
this come from? All these feast days, I cannot find it in the book. And I say that I follow the Messiah. So then somewhere something is wrong. So that is
mhm.
actually what I also like. It's really motivating you to double check things. It doesn't matter if it's new, just double check it and then you know for yourself if it's a lie or not.
Yeah, but I try to look back in my own life. Like, for example, now we are sharp about these things. When you hear something, then you okay, we're reading, okay. But back in the days when we were in the Christian faith, were you sitting in the church and everything you hear? Okay, let me go check it.
No,
Or were you just
never,
Then
sitting
this is
there
this.
and yeah, I'm enjoying
never.
what I'm going to do after church. There were times that I was sitting in the church like that.
Yeah.
Have to hold it.
No,
Ren is too much in the spirit. No, no, no. Reply, Stephanie, please reply, reply,
yeah.
because
I mean,
this is in line with what I wanted to
cannot
share. I
keep
don't know.
everything till the end. It's not possible. We also
It's
have to
not
share some
possible.
stuff.
You
No.
also have to share. So
I'll,
basically what Rennie was saying, if you can reply on it, it says that a friend or a friend of yours, yeah? Let's say Stephanie, your friend, right? Hears that the early believers followed a more Hebrew practice than today's churches. And he says, but the Messiah nailed all the laws to the cross. Basically, you in your olden days, or how would you now advise your previous you?
Previews.
Yeah, because then yeah, because then is that fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically yeah. So how would you advise your previous you in the gathering? You hear from, oh yeah, the Messiah and all these things, and now you hear it.
Uh, well, I will start by mentioning some few examples. I think that is the most easiest way. I will not start with quoting. I will not start with even explaining, but just describe some things that we see um, nowadays, which actually has no link to the laws. And there are many things. Um, for example, the way that we make music, or the way that we are even dancing in the churches, or the way that we are bringing ourselves to the assemblies dressed immodesty. So these things, I will just bring it back and say, or even ask like, is it something that the Messiah would like? Is it something which you would describe as holy? Um, and then for some of the questions, I will say no, because if I'm honest, I will be able to give an transparent answer and even look at myself, because I know in that time I was not paying attention to covering myself, or even take my fellow brothers in mind that, oh, let me cover up so that I will not cause any offense. Um, and then even that is the first thing. And then the second thing, how will Elohim look at me? Will he accept me as this if I call him the king or the holy one? Am I dressed holy? Am I professing things which are decent? Is my character giving light? So all these things, I'll just bring it into a very casual manner. It will not bring a sudden change, that one I know, because it took me time to understand. But by pinpointing things out, that is where I will have asked myself new questions, um, and being honest, because I cannot lie to myself. I cannot lie to you, and definitely not to Elohim. So that is how I will start.
Okay. Shalom, did you want to say? Because I also have something to add.
At.
Um, I when I try to answer these type of questions, I always try to take it from an angle or a law which I myself had difficulties with, because it's easy now when you advise yourself in the past about the easy law or Sabbath, and then yeah, it's easy to take. Maybe that's not something you had issues with, but I myself in the past, before I came to the faith, to the truth, the Hebrew way, I wasn't circumcised, and that was something that was so, it pricked me in my heart, like, please let this law be something that is done away with, or it's something that we don't have to keep.
Oh, yeah.
So I was seeking all kinds of ways, and every time when I came into conversation with the brothers in this group, and the conclusion always came like, hey bro, that's also a law that also needs to happen. And that one pricked me, it pricked me. But um and it brings me back to the question, like, what would you advise your past self concerning this? And I reflect back, and at a certain moment I just came like, you know what, Elohim, if these are your laws, if this is what it requires to follow after you, if this what is also needed on the path, I just have to lay myself down. I just have to surrender myself also to this law that is pricking me in my heart. And the reason why I bring this up is it's also a way of um, how you need to be. You have to be a humble person, because many people, their character, how they're sitting in the church, is not someone that is humble. They are very prideful, and then because if you're a prideful person, you're going to battle everything that someone is saying to you. Someone may bring this knowledge in plain words to you, but because you're if you're a prideful person and you're not humble unto the word of Elohim, then you're going to find a way to battle it, and you will not do it. But I myself, I just humbled myself in a mindset like, oh, you know what, Elohim, if even though it breaks me, but if this is what it takes to follow you, I have to surrender myself also. And that's what drew me over the line to do this. So yeah.
Oh, that is an real life example. Wow, because someone to make that someone to go to that point, that shows indeed the level of brokenness. And that's also one thing that we also notice in the book of Acts, what Minister Jeff also last week mentioned multiple times, was that they one way for them to avoid spiritual drought was to study the scriptures. They were reading the scriptures daily. When you read even the book of Acts 17, you would see that they heard something, and they were like, no, 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 no. I cannot believe this, what you're saying. But still, they went home and they were reading and to see, hey, is it in line? Is it in line with the prophecies of the prophet? Is it in line with the laws? What are the mysteries? And that is something, it is something that we have to develop, the curiosity to know Elohim more and more. And because of the many distractions, that's what Paul mostly said, that we are busy people, only busybodies, only distracted with so many things. But like what the two of you mentioned, at a certain point, you will read, you will research for yourself, you will look for yourself. So it's something that I want to encourage all of us, that there is a certain hunger, there is a certain emptiness, there is a certain load that we might all feel, and it is to be solved with reading his scriptures first, right? Reading his spirit, because that word can cleanse your own thought. You will just take the thoughts of the scriptures and replace it with your thoughts, because we know that our own thoughts is all but pain, wickedness, a brokenness, tiredness, no self-love. But if you continue to read, you will see it change your thinking. And of course, it always goes in line with prayers, also in line with fasting. And and that was the mindset of the people of the people of the book, in the book of Acts. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay, nice. Do you have another segment?
I have too many, but also because of
Bring.
time.
Next
No,
segment.
also
Ah,
because of time,
it is
because of
finished.
time, because of time, because of time.
Ah, it is finished.
Maybe we can maybe you just give us some nuggets. Give us some nuggets. Give us
Some
some
nuggets.
nuggets for us
Not
to
McDonald's though.
close with. For us to
Um,
close with.
let me see. Nuggets concerning the early church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say that it's good to study um the differences. If you just challenge yourself, let me read the Bible, and study, look at the modern day church, maybe your church where you are going, and try to look into the scriptures, the things that the believers of early days were doing. Simple chapters, like, for example, I'll give you small stories and then just up to you to go find it. The simple fact that Paul went to circumcise Timothy, and that was after the Messiah died. Why did he do that? The early example that I gave, the when the Messiah died on the stake, and then you can read in Luke, you can search where it's found, but it's written, go find it, that they went and rested on the Sabbath according to the commandment. Those are things that we were doing. So try to go into the scriptures and search after these things, and maybe ask it in your church, like, why are we not doing this? And if you see that they give you strange answers, but it's still written in the scriptures that they were doing these things even after the death of the Messiah, then it's up to you what you want to do next, because it's something that you have found and
But they would
something that
say
you have.
then,
Uh-huh.
but they wouldn't say if it has been nailed to the cross,
Yeah, but what does that mean?
or we are no more under the law, but under grace,
Okay, but what does
or
that
you are no.
mean?
Okay, okay. So that's then also a question to ask.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions if people say you these things. And if you hear an answer, also come in the show. You can also tell us these things or send us a message that, okay, I asked this to my pastor and this is what he said. Then we can reason with you. But don't just take everything that you hear and digest it, and you become
Yeah,
spiritually sick.
and ask us also questions
Yeah.
as if you don't agree, right? From hey, you were saying this, you were doing that. What is it like? How are you going to do?
If
Uh,
you don't agree, drop it in the comment section and tell us why you don't agree so that we can
yeah,
have a dialogue.
I can also
so
imagine that it's very difficult to question a minister in public, um, or to even after the service, and you know that you can approach him separately. It is difficult because you also have to deal with yeah, the different positions of the people in the assembly. So maybe you can give some tips, like to make it easier. No, because I can really imagine that you are sitting there, you hear a lot of things, but you don't know even know where to start.
I
You don't
did
know.
that one time, eh?
Yeah, but that is you. But
ja,
somebody
maar Ren
else.
heeft Ren heeft geen voetstuk.
Never, you want tips, right?
Okay, what will you give a tip for somebody who is scared to do it?
As of scared, the Bible says the wicked flee when no one pursueth, but the righteous stand as bold as a lion. So what you have to do is you have to be bold as a lion. I cannot teach you that.
Oh wow.
You have
Oh
to be
wow.
bold as a lion. So start with that. Pray about it, and then if you other
You're
practical
serious.
tips, we are there. That's my advice.
Good one. It's a way. It's a way.
Cosine.
Come again?
Cosine.
It's a way, but still I will also like take into account other individuals who are not courageous like Randy. Um and maybe some encouragement or motivation kind of talk is needed before a person can take the notes and questions to sit down or to even have a dialogue first with somebody else who has not a higher role or position.
Is
Because
this a rhetorical question, Steph, or is it
no, I am
that you
giving my
really?
own. I'm
Okay.
adding my own. No, no, I'm not questioning you. But I'm trying to give an answer also for somebody else who is watching and also have the same kind of experience, um, being a church goer and hearing different type of messages and knowing that it is not all. correct or even found in scriptures, but you still want to at least take a bold step like what you did, but you don't know how to do or where to start. So that's why I say these points.
Okay, so what is the tip or advice?
That's what I already said it.
Oh, maybe I missed it, but I will listen back to it.
Yeah. And for me, yeah, ooh, it is. I had one friend who did it, by the way. It happened even in my church also. Was yeah, so it was yeah, 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 I will not describe him, but he was he was a friend. He was a friend of I'll explain. I don't think you know him. And he yeah, he mentioned he just during the preaching, because normally during preaching you don't ask questions, eh?
Mm-hmm,
You know, that's
mm-hmm.
also the setting, right? There's also something strange because in days of old you were
A bit
allowed to
slack.
ask questions, but now you were not allowed to ask questions. So all of a sudden, there's someone would then, of the friend of mine, he stood up and he said, "No, that's what you're preaching is false."
Oh,
And yeah, and he might be have, of course, he was right on some points, but the approach, let's be honest, nobody will listen if you go to their territorium. You would interrupt the service and you would say, "You are false. You are." Yeah, it will never, it will never work, and it will
nah.
never work.
Yeah, you activate people's, how do they say, reptilian mind, and they will go in defense mode, fight or flight mode, and they will start to, okay, try to bring calmness into the situation instead of listening to what you're actually saying. So that's not the right way to do it. So I
Yeah,
can understand that
true.
it's not
So,
nice.
and also for me, indeed, to for us to give away, it is one point, and one thing for us to look into is read everything, listen everything. And I think the most important journey, the most important part of this journey is for us to seek the Holy Spirit, because we have been flooded with so many lies, flooded with so many doctrines. It is really hard to navigate and to see the true path. So if you read everything, if you read, if you are sincerely searching for him, and I'm not talking about that search for him like you are in that journey to new age, so that spirituality and that enlightenment, and then your third eye to be opened, and so no, as in diligently seeking for that path of righteousness, and for you to be on whole and a new person. What the minister last week also, what he said last week is also, sometimes when you are reading something, they would say, no, don't listen, no, don't do that. Even in churches nowadays, they even avoid you to read the book of Revelation, or even the other books except of the 66 book, or even to look into history, to look the historical context of the Bible. No, it's always the church fathers. Dot. But it's good for us to read as much as we can. And it is a lot. I think last week I spoke to someone, and it is a lot to catch up with the many knowledge, the many information that has been circulating in this world. But that's why one thing for sure is what also really helps also to be really, really peculiar about your leaders, about the one who you follow, because that can also help you to 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 keep that fire burning within you, to push you for, hey, weet toch, look also into that, look also into that. So in all this we really have to push through. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for this session, modern day churches. We even didn't go into the falling part, or we didn't go into the prophesying part. Neither did we go. There are so many things to cover concerning this, the money, the alms, and so. But I think the main message behind this is it's good to research and just study the book of Acts, to have a good foundation. So thank you very much. Have a nice day and have a nice Sabbath, and be blessed. Shalom, shalom,
Yes.
shalom.